Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know, first Chinese humanoid robots priced at $22,000 are set to challenge US dominance, beating Tesla to market and creating a new OS platform war. We'll explore how this aggressive, low-cost strategy, fueled by a talent boomerang, could transform the global robotics industry and create an Android versus iOS-style platform battle. Second, Anthropic hits a $350 billion valuation as Sequoia Capital breaks Silicon Valley rules by funding both the AI startup and its top rival, OpenAI. We'll analyze why this unprecedented move signals a major strategic shift in venture capital and how it could affect the competitive dynamics of the AI arms race. Third, a US crypto bill collapses as the banking lobby fears a 3.5% stablecoin reward could trigger a massive bank deposit flight, halting regulatory progress. So we'll discuss why this fight over rewards versus yields matters and what it means for US competitiveness as Europe and the UAE push ahead with clear crypto frameworks. Fourth, Apple faces a bombshell lawsuit from the Camo app developer alleging a classic Sherlocking maneuver to copy its tech and maintain its walled garden. Today, we'll take a closer look at this new legal playbook combining antitrust and patent claims and its implications for developers fighting platform self-preferencing. Fifth, Amazon cuts 30,000 corporate jobs, sparking AI washing accusations while waging a two-front war on labor with both software and warehouse robots. In this episode, we'll break down this dual-front automation strategy and what it signals for the future of both corporate and blue-collar workforces. The most unexpected news in the tech world today has to be this. Chinese humanoid robots are on the verge of coming to the US and they're beating Elon Musk to the punch. While Tesla's Optimus robot isn't expected to be for sale until the end of 2027, Chinese companies are moving now. This isn't necessarily a story about a massive technological leap, but one of aggressive strategy and speed. Chinese companies are being propelled by massive government support. We're talking about a plan in Shenzhen alone worth over $600 million in subsidies to supercharge their AI, and robotics industries. This support allows them to commercialize faster and at a lower cost, even if the core technology isn't definitively better than their US rivals. A startup called Limex Dynamics is already exploring business collaborations in the United States and has secured its first foreign backer from the Middle East, with plans to start shipping humanoids there this very year. Now, why the Middle East? This is a brilliant strategic move. By targeting wealthy, tech-friendly, and geopolitically neutral hubs like Abu Dhabi, these companies can build scale, prove their technology, and generate revenue without immediately getting tangled in US-China trade friction. It's a way to build credibility before making a bigger push into Western markets. The price for their base model, just over $22,000. That price point is a game changer because it's less than the annual salary for a full-time minimum wage worker in many parts of the United States. Research shows that manufacturing costs for humanoids have plummeted by 40% in just the last year. This makes a robotic workforce economically viable for the first time. The jobs most at risk are the repetitive, physically demanding ones in warehouses and on assembly lines, tasks like picking, packing, and sorting. And what really brought this to a head was the next development. This isn't just a future threat. The shift is already happening. According to a new report, about 13,000 humanoids were shipped worldwide last year. Chinese companies, led by Agibot, dominated the top 5 spots. US rival Figure AI ranked 7th, and Tesla, they came in at number 9. That data has led Morgan Stanley to double its forecast for China's humanoid robot sales this year alone. This is a direct challenge to American tech dominance, and the founder of Limex Dynamics isn't hiding his ambition. He's part of a growing trend, some are calling the talent boomerang, which is a crucial piece of this puzzle. He's a former tenured professor from a US university who returned to China to lead a strategic tech company. Between 2010 and 2021, nearly 20,000 scientists of Chinese descent left the US, many returning home to take advantage of huge investments in science and technology. This brain drain has major long-term implications for America's innovation leadership. In an exclusive interview, he went on the record with a statement that says it all. We don't think it has to be that the US leads and China follows. So what we're witnessing is the start of a new platform war, much like the battle between Android and iOS for smartphones. Limex is building its own proprietary AI operating system for its robots. This is a direct contrast to Tesla's closed, vertically integrated approach and to Figure AI's strategy of partnering with OpenAI. The company that creates the dominant operating system could control the entire industry for decades. The goal is to deliver several thousand robots in the next 3 years, building case studies for how they can perform services for humans. The race is on, and rapid advances in the industry mean humanoid robots could be working alongside us within 5 to 10 years. If all goes according to plan for these companies, those robots won't just be in China, but deployed around the world. We were just talking about the hardware race with humanoid robots. Now let's shift our focus to the software ecosystem where the money is flowing at an unbelievable rate. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on this next company. $350 billion. To justify that price tag on $10 billion in revenue, investors are betting on absolutely explosive growth. They're projecting Anthropic could hit nearly $30 billion in revenue within just a couple of years. The situation presents a fascinating duality though. On one side, you have this massive growth potential, while on the other, you have these insane recurring costs for computing power. As we discussed a while back, that's the profitability paradox. Every user query carries an inference cost, so the expense curve rises with usage. If the next leaps in performance come more from brute force scaling than breakthroughs, you get flattening returns right as costs spike. That makes the whole valuation a high wire act. That company is Anthropic, and it just closed a funding round of between $10 and $15 billion, blowing past its initial target. But that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is who's writing the checks. That figure could still grow as tech giants Microsoft and Nvidia, who have already pledged billions, are reportedly considering pouring in even more. A few days ago, we talked about the circular economy of AI money flows, where suppliers invest, and that capital cycles back into buying their compute. Today's news fits that pattern perfectly. This strategy is critical because Microsoft and Nvidia aren't just investors, they are essential suppliers. Think of it like this. Nvidia makes the shovels, the GPUs, and Microsoft provides the land, the cloud computing for the AI gold rush. By investing directly, they are taking an ownership stake in the miners. This ensures their technology remains at the center of the ecosystem and gives them incredible influence. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. A key investor in this massive deal is Sequoia Capital. That name is critical because Sequoia is also a major investor in Anthropic's number one rival, OpenAI. For a top-tier venture capital firm like Sequoia, funding direct competitors is practically unheard of. It breaks all the old rules. This move signals a massive strategic shift. It's a hedging strategy, which tells us that even the smartest money in Silicon Valley isn't sure who will win the AI race. Instead of betting on a single horse, they are now betting on the race itself, creating a complex web of co-investments where rivals share the same powerful backers. That's right. One of the most powerful venture capital firms in the world is now funding both sides of the biggest war in technology. And this isn't just a simple business rivalry. The conflict is personal. Anthropic was founded back in 2021 by former top executives from OpenAI, including its current CEO, Dario Amodei. They left their old company specifically to build a direct competitor. They didn't just leave to make money. They left over a fundamental disagreement about safety. Anthropic was founded with a safety-first mission, structured as a public benefit corporation. But now, with billions in new funding and a sky-high valuation, the company faces immense commercial pressure to grow fast and beat competitors. This creates a huge tension between its founding principles and the market's demands. And it seems to be working. Amodei just revealed that Anthropic generated close to $10 billion in revenue last year alone, powered by its popular AI model, Claude. This isn't just another funding announcement. With rivals now being funded by the same backers and tens of billions of dollars being deployed as weapons, this is a seismic shift in the AI arms race. The battle for artificial intelligence dominance is officially on, and the lines between allies and enemies are being completely redrawn. Speaking of high-stakes financial plays, a major battle is brewing in Washington over the future of crypto. And believe it or not, it all comes down to a single number, 3.5%. Here's the deal. Right now, holding a stablecoin like USDC on an exchange can earn you 3.5% back in rewards. Your traditional bank account it's giving you about 0.001% interest. The entire debate hinges on the difference between the words rewards and yields. The banking industry wants these crypto earnings to be classified as bank yields, subject to incredibly strict regulations. And actually, this isn't the first time we've seen this fight. This is a playbook straight from the 1970s when money market funds emerged. They offered much higher returns than bank accounts, which were capped by a rule called Regulation Q. Banks panicked then too as money flew out of their accounts. What we're seeing now is history repeating itself with new technology. And that has the entire banking industry panicking. They're afraid of a massive bank deposit flight, millions of people pulling their savings out of traditional accounts for radically better returns. Their lobbyists are now pushing for a full prohibition on these crypto rewards. And that single issue has brought a crucial bipartisan market structure bill to a screeching halt. Meanwhile, as the US is trapped in this legislative gridlock, the rest of the world isn't waiting. The European Union has already rolled out its markets in crypto assets regulation, or MiCA, which creates a single, clear legal framework. Jurisdictions like the United Arab Emirates are also creating supportive environments. The result? A brain drain of talent and capital. Major companies like Bybit and DWF Labs have already moved their headquarters out of places like Singapore and into Dubai and Abu Dhabi. The longer the US stalls, the more it risks being left behind. But the clock is ticking, and the political landscape is shifting fast. The midterm elections are imminent, and if this bill doesn't pass now, the industry faces a potential doomsday scenario. According to Cody Carbone, CEO of the Digital Chamber, a Democratic takeover of Congress could mean the focus shifts entirely from helpful regulation to hostile enforcement. He went on the record with a chilling prediction saying, I imagine there'll be a lot of subpoenas and they'll want to look into the Trump family's dealings around crypto. There's not going to be any interest in passing crypto legislation that will help in terms of adoption. This isn't just a random political threat. There's a real ideological alignment happening. The Trump-aligned wing of the Republican Party has increasingly embraced crypto's anti-establishment ethos. They see it as a check on centralized government power, with some even pushing to create a US government Bitcoin reserve. This growing alliance is what makes the other side so nervous. At the same time, the crypto industry is flexing serious political muscle, with super PACs like Fairshake raising over $100 million to support pro-crypto candidates. This is turning crypto into a major political battleground. This isn't just a policy debate. It's a high-stakes battle between traditional finance and the future of digital assets. The crypto industry is now facing the very real possibility that if it can't secure a deal in the next few weeks, it will be, in one expert's words, kicking themselves as they face years of gridlock and aggressive oversight. That fight between old guards and new tech in Washington is one thing, but a similar battle is playing out in the courts. A seemingly impossible collaboration between a small app developer and Apple has turned into a bombshell lawsuit, and it's a textbook case of what the tech world calls Sherlocking. It's what happens when a platform owner, like Apple, sees a popular third-party app and then builds that same feature directly into its own operating system, effectively making the original app obsolete. The developer, Rhincubate, created an app called Camo that turns your phone into a high-quality webcam. According to the lawsuit, the app was a massive internal hit at Apple, with thousands of employees using it. The developer's CEO claims Apple was an early supporter, making all sorts of promises about how they could help the app succeed. Interestingly enough, this alleged pattern of internal adoption, followed by copying, has been called a developer honey trap. Think about it. Developers of other successful apps, like Duet Display, which turned an iPad into a second screen, reported that Apple engaged with them and showed interest right before launching its own nearly identical feature, Sidecar. It raises the question of whether this internal popularity is just a coincidence or a form of market research. Then, 2 years after Camo launched, Apple announced its own nearly identical feature called Continuity Camera, which only works between Apple devices. So why would Apple do this? The strategy seems to be creating a good enough feature that's free and built in, which is often sufficient to kill off a superior paid competitor. The lawsuit alleges that Apple didn't just get inspired, it copied the technology and then used its total control over the App Store and its operating systems to disadvantage Camo and push users toward its own product. The lawsuit gets specific on how Apple could technically disadvantage an app. It alleges that Apple used system-level changes to undermine Camo's functionality. For example, it claims Apple's framework prevents Camo from offering low-latency wireless connections, and that when Continuity Camera launches, it automatically suspends the Camo app. This is where the fight gets really interesting. Reincubate isn't just claiming anti-competitive behavior, they're also suing for patent infringement. This dual claim strategy is a new playbook for developers, potentially giving them a much stronger legal weapon. Reincubate's CEO puts it bluntly, saying that once they proved the technology worked and users loved it, Apple took it and built our features into 1 billion iPhones, Macs, displays, iPads and TVs while shutting us out. He argues that Apple's goal wasn't just to compete, but to cut our legs off to maintain its famous walled garden ecosystem. This walled garden is at the heart of everything. For Apple, keeping users locked into their ecosystem is strategically more valuable than allowing a single, superior third-party app to thrive. If a feature is good enough and reinforces the ecosystem, it serves Apple's ultimate goal, even if a better alternative exists outside the garden walls. The core of the accusation is that Reincubate didn't just come between Apple and its users, they came between Apple and their walled garden. This lawsuit raises a critical question for every developer on Apple's platform. Is there room for real innovation, or are small companies just creating ideas that are, in the developer's own words, too insignificant to duplicate and freeze out? This case lands right in the middle of a global battle over these exact practices, and a win for Camo in a US court could set a powerful precedent for regulators worldwide. We've talked about platform power, but let's turn to another tech giant, Amazon, which is reshaping its workforce on an unprecedented scale. Amazon is in the middle of cutting 30,000 corporate jobs. CEO Andy Jassy went on the record stating that the increased use of AI tools would lead to more automation and, ultimately, corporate job losses. This narrative of AI replacing workers is becoming a huge trend, but some experts are calling this AI washing, using artificial intelligence as a convenient public excuse for layoffs that are really about cutting costs. Now, get this. At the World Economic Forum, top executives told Reuters that AI would be used as an excuse by companies that were already planning to cut jobs anyway. A recent study found that a staggering 69% of employees agree Amazon's strategy is a two-front war on labor, unlike anything we've seen. While the company is using AI to automate white-collar corporate tasks, it's simultaneously deploying an army of physical robots in its warehouses to automate blue-collar work. This dual-front automation, pressuring both ends of the job market at the same time, is what makes Amazon's push so unique and potentially disruptive. This latest move from Amazon slashes 16,000 jobs worldwide, coming just 3 months after a cut of 14,000 roles. The layoffs are hitting major divisions from Amazon Web Services and retail to Prime Video and Human Resources. But why would they cut jobs in Amazon Web Services? Their cash cow. The pivot is strategic. AWS is restructuring to prioritize selling high-margin AI services. They are also using their own AI coding assistants, like Code Whisperer, which can automate tasks once done by legions of cloud engineers. So, in a way, they are cannibalizing their traditional cloud computing roles to chase the next big thing, AI. And while 30,000 jobs are a fraction of Amazon's massive 1.58 million global workforce, it represents nearly 10% of its entire corporate staff. This 10% figure is so important because of who it targets. This isn't just trimming the edges, it's a structural change. Jassy himself spoke about a goal to eliminate excessive bureaucracy and reduce the number of managers. This is the beginning of what some are calling the AI-powered manager purge. AI dashboards and analytics tools can now do the work of tracking performance and coordinating projects, which were core functions of middle management. This AI-driven delayering is different and potentially more permanent than past corporate fads. In response to the back-to-back cuts, Amazon's own senior vice president of people experience tried to calm the waters, stating, "That's not our plan," when asked if massive layoffs would become a new rhythm for the company. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Tech giants like Meta and Microsoft are also aggressively restructuring after a massive hiring surge during the pandemic. Perhaps the most telling detail is that the layoffs even hit the human resources department. Think about that. The very department that manages workforce transitions is itself being downsized by technology. This is a huge indicator of a fundamental shift. AI tools for recruiting and performance management are automating the core functions of HR. A recent survey showed 43% of organizations in the US have already implemented AI in their HR departments. This is a case of the restructure is being restructured. The message is clear. From routine administrative tasks to complex coding problems, AI is no longer a futuristic concept. It is a driving force behind a historic workforce shift at one of the world's most powerful companies.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.